because there are still invisible wars being fought. But to whom are they invisible? These are terms they have used, friends. I mean, I'm rambling. But these are terms they are used in Pentagon and in the State Department and by Dr. Kissinger and by President Ford and by President Nixon. They use terms like invisible wars. They used to say forgotten wars, a successful guerrilla war, a successful war of counterinsurgency is an invisible war. It's a forgotten war. Invisible to whom? The war in Laos was not invisible. And that's the crux of the national security problems. The war in Laos was not invisible to the Laotians, who received exactly the same amount of tonnage between 1964 and 1969 in 5 years. They received the same amount of tonnage in bombs that was expended in all of World War II by all the combatants. But the American people didn't know about it until '69, when the Mansfield report came out from the Senate, said that the American Air Force had been bombing Laos without the knowledge of the American people.
And it is for that reason, it is for that particular phenomenon of American political culture that acts of civil disobedience have become a major, a mainstream, a decisive part of the political life of America since the days that a party was held in Boston and it was called the Boston Tea Party. And it is for this reason that the trade union movement in this country had to go through acts of civil disobedience. And it is for this reason that the civil rights movement and Martin Luther King had to go into acts of civil disobedience. And it is for this reason that the suffragettes had to enter into acts of civil disobedience. And it is for this reason that we had to enter into acts of civil disobedience to stop the war in Indochina. It is not the Congress of America that has stopped the war in Indochina. It was the war demonstrations in Pentagon. It was the burning of the Catonsville 9 files. It was the nuns and priests going into jail. It was the Chicago 7 trial. It was the demonstrations of 1968 before the Democratic Convention in Chicago. So since when has which part of mainstream America come to describe acts of civil disobedience as un-American act? These acts, civil disobedience, is as American as apple pie.
Nationalism is an ideology of expanded, solidified identity. If you are going to build identity, collective identity, on the basis of history, you're going to distort that history.
Yeah. You are actually going for fossils to an extent.
Exactly. You are bound to distort that history. You want to glorify it. You want to underline the silver linings in that history where you are concerned. You want to darken the picture the best you can where the other is concerned. Nationalism is an ideology which always has the other. And therefore, it's a double distortion. You distort by glorifying your own, and you distort by darkening the other's history.
Things won't remain what they are, and the need of the hour. Now, I have spoken longer than I had hoped. I think because looking at your faces, I felt that there are large numbers among you who are in some way connected to one of the many countries we are talking about. What I want to say at the end is that your connection is very important. Your connection can either help or hinder. You can play a good role or a bad role. As you probably know, I did some work 10 years, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, on the Hindu militant movement in India. It's a very sick movement. It's sicker in some ways than most Muslim movements I have seen. What struck me extraordinarily about Vishwa Hindu Parishad and BJP and the Rashtriya Sevak Sangh was the amount of help they were getting from the exiled Indian community in Canada and the United States. So in a very genuine sense, the Indian intelligentsia is connected to India, but in a bad sort of way. Not all of them. Many of them are connected to India in a good sort of way. But they're connected to India in a kind of way that I think will not give India a good future. All I can hope is that you shall be connected to your countries and your peoples in a strong, positive, progressive, I should use the word, enlightened and democratic ways. Thank you. During this entire period, Western narcotics agencies identified something like 40 syndicates that were engaged in drug trade through Afghanistan and Pakistan. Western powers, particularly the United States, did not want to look or didn't want to care at that time because they had made an alliance with the devil. You know what Churchill said of Hitler at that time, if I have to cross, hold hands with the devil to cross that bridge.
Has broken his word. The loyal friend has betrayed. To the one that you swore blood loyalty has betrayed. They're going to go for you. There are going to be a lot more. There will be a lot more. These are the chickens of the Afghanistan war coming home to roost. And this is why I said towards the conclusion, covert operations, stop them. There is a price attached to those that the American people cannot calculate. And Kissinger type of people do not know. They don't know. They don't have the history to know. Have I explained myself?
Who have been forgotten by their own leaders and by their fellow Arabs and Muslims, that Iqbal has been one of their guiding lights. And for that, no Palestinian can ever thank him enough. I've seen him with our young people, with our leaders, with professionals, intellectuals, children, and old people. There's never anything but affection and sympathy from him for them, and all of them. You could see it in their eyes. Cherish the man's courage, brilliance, and sheer downright humaneness.
Now there is a tradition among a section of Pakistanis that when a girl is married and the moment arrives for her to move to the house of the in-laws, she is made to depart from her parents' house through the back door. The implication of leaving through the back door is that the front door is never closed on her. It always remains open for her to come back. And when she wants to come back, a party is sent to fetch her. Nobody at the in-laws is given a chance to say to the girl, look, nobody wants you back. Nobody has come to fetch you. Don't go. And as Zen was said, don't go, I thought he was going to say, nobody has come to fetch you. So we have come to fetch Eqbal.